Well, Big Cat Weekend was a huge success. Commits, flips, and lots to talk about from it. We're going to discuss that, hear from some of you all, and I'll share my opinions too, coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Tonight's live stream, a bit of an impromptu one. We're going to be talking about Big Cat Weekend and all that it entails from what has happened this particular crazy weekend. I'm really excited about what happened. I think a lot of the things that everybody was anticipating was going to happen happened. But I'd love to hear some of your comments and your questions about it too. So drop on into the chat here if you're watching live, if you're on the replay. You can obviously share your comments in the comments section below. We are going to open up the phone lines in just a little bit for everybody to take part in if you choose to do so tonight to share your opinions about this. But really, this is just a reaction show where we're all just shooting the breeze, talking about what we just all witnessed today on social media. And those of you maybe that were on campus, if you got to see any of those things, I would love to hear any perspectives as well. A couple things that you can do for me. Got a great crowd already assembling. Go ahead and smash the like button if you haven't done so already. It does help us out if you think we've earned it. But also go ahead and check in with us in the comments section right now in the live chat, where you're watching from, your city, your state, international, all of that good stuff. Want to know who's here, hanging out with us, spending some time, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. We've got some people already lining up in the phone lines. We'll take in just a second. We've got Noah's already checked in. David's checked in. Dwight's checked in. John, Neil, everybody is here. I just rolled through them all really, really fast because, yeah, there's a lot of y'all popping in already on the stream tonight. So, and watching from my neck of the woods, of course you are. Timothy, first-time watcher, welcome. Thanks for being here and hanging out with us. So let me give you my initial thoughts about this and then kind of lay the groundwork, and then we'll take some comments, take some callers, and get in to everything that y'all want to discuss tonight. So obviously the big two things that everybody thought and hoped that were going to happen happened, right? So obviously the commitment of I cannot say his name for some reason, Malcolm Simmons, the first wide receiver commit today from Alexander City. What I don't want to be lost in the excitement of the second one we brought up is this guy. This is not as exciting of a day. I mean, it's still an exciting day given the nature of the one we'll talk about in just a second, but it's not as exciting of a day without him on top of it. So what you've essentially done now is set up yourself a nice receiving core for Walker White when they all arrive on campus together, if they all sign. Obviously, they've committed. That's all it is at this point. But don't forget about Malcolm Simmons, as much as I mispronounce his name. Really excited about him. Want to talk about him some tonight as well. But I know I'm not dumb. I know what all of you are here for is to talk about Perry Thompson, the flip that just keeps on giving the sweet deliciousness that is the tears of the Alabama fans on social media, on message boards, probably some in person. It has been a joyous day. Now, I don't want to also rain on the parade, but I'm going to give you, as we talk about here on this show a lot, the context of both sides of this conversation. May I remind you all that there has been a lot of this type of stuff happened in the past where a former Bama commit has flipped to Auburn, or maybe was going to go to Alabama, but then suddenly decided to go to Auburn, and then they flip back. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I just want you all to be forewarned. I just want you all to kind of be thinking about that has happened in the past. No reason to think that at this point. But for now, let's revel in the fact that a lot of the Bama faithful are having to deal with the fact that, oh, wow, Auburn can recruit again. So obviously that's a great thing tonight. And then the last few things off of this, we're waiting for KJ Bolden potentially to decide on August 5th that he wants to sign with the Tigers. There are some indications that seem to lean that direction, that that's going to happen. but we'll wait and see. What else is going to happen off that? What else might happen in the middle of this stream? We don't know. A lot of the times we go live, crazy stuff happens. So I can't guarantee what is or isn't going to happen from this point. What we do know, it has been a very fruitful Big Cat weekend. 2 wide receiver commits, Malcolm, Simmons, and then Perry Thompson, the flip from Alabama. And as I tell you all a lot about Big Cat weekend, sometimes the seeds are planted here and the crop is harvested later on. So just remember that if your favorite commit didn't commit today or doesn't commit in the coming days, and we'll go from there. A lot of other people checked in the meantime. We got Sean checking in, James checked in, John, good to see you. Thanks, sir. Rod and Kevin checked in as well. Good to see all of you. Bama and Georgia saying we didn't want these players anyway. Of course, it's the MO they always go about saying. All right, got a few people lined up, so we might have to make these quick calls tonight just in case, but we'll go ahead and say hello to our first one tonight. Mr. Noah's been waiting very patiently. How's it going, Noah?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for calling in tonight. What's on your mind?
I'm excited of our picks today.
Yeah?
Excited about that.
So can I guess which one's your favorite one?
Probably Perry Thompson. That's probably my favorite.
I can't
like
imagine.
that pick.
I can't imagine why he would be your favorite pick. So is today a big success for you? Like in your mind, is today a big success?
It's a very good success for Auburn. Got a lot of good wide receivers today.
Yeah. Do you think can I ask you the favorite question of Trevon Reed? Are we done yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. So where are we heading after this? Is it simply KJ Bolden or is it somebody else? What do you think?
I think it's somebody else. I don't think KJ will come.
You don't think he's going to come? Really?
No, I do not.
Why is that?
Is there anybody that wants him except for Auburn?
I think a lot of people want him. He's a 5-star, so people on that alone want him a lot. So I think he's highly coveted. I don't know that it's a shoe-in for Auburn, but things seem to be pretty good right now. At least that's the indications. There, if you watch some of the, I don't know what social media you are on or not on, but there were some live videos today with some messages between players and on live chats that seem to indicate things look pretty good there, but we won't know until Friday or no, I don't know what day it will be.
Yeah, I think it was Friday.
One of those days. So we'll see. Well, if it's not KJ Bolden, who's the next one for you?
I have no clue now.
you're just reveling in the happiness that is Big Cat weekend so far. I feel you on that, man. I feel you. What else is on your mind tonight from Big Cat weekend?
I feel like we got a lot of good people that signed for Auburn. Two good wide receivers.
Yep. And I know that Walker White's put a lot of work in himself, the quarterback commit, to produce these. So he's definitely seeing the dividends of that. But thanks for sharing your perspective tonight. Always welcome to call in whenever we have the line open for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. All right, we've got them all piling in here. We're going to go ahead and let the next one in. Mr. Kevin, there you are, sir. How's it going, sir?
Hey, War Eagle Cow, we did good today.
Hey, you called it. What you wearing a cowboy hat for, sir?
The Quez Hunter.
Did you have that on in the background, or did you just put that on now before you came on live?
Before I came on live.
Okay, all right. I did when I saw you in the green room there. I was like, is he actually, is he wearing that already? That's pretty nifty there. I'm gonna have to get me one of those to have for myself. What sticks out to you today?
It excited me about Perry Thompson.
I had a feeling that's going to be what you thought about, Kevin. I think that's the majority of us today. And look, as I said at the very beginning of the show, I don't want us to lose sight of Malcolm Simmons, but I'm also not stupid enough to ignore the fact that that's where a lot of people's minds are. And it's the most raw thing right now too, because that's the nearest thing that happened. Malcolm committed at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, Malcolm was committed at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. And so this one was 4 hours ago, really? Maybe 5. I've lost track of time. Yeah. It's been a long day for me. So I have literally woken up, got in front of this computer and on the phone and have just been trying to keep track of what's been going on. I was just on the phone with her a second ago before I went live, and she said, "You sound tired." I said, "I am." I am. So anyway, enough about me complaining about me getting to cover Auburn stuff. What else stuck out to you today?
Hey, which wide receiver you think starts this coming season?
These two that we just got?
No, they're for next season.
Well, we'll probably keep that conversation for another live stream. I do want to keep the focus mainly on the Big Cat weekend, but I think Javaris Johnson probably would be one that you and I have talked a lot about on other streams. That's probably in a good position to start, and some of those big wide receivers too. But here, let me switch it around on you. How quickly do you think Malcolm Simmons and Perry Thompson might get some significant playing time at Auburn? Remember, they won't play till next year. They won't even be here until next season.
They will play next season.
How quickly, though? Do you think that they'll be in the first game?
Yeah, first game.
It's not unheard of because a lot of athletes and a lot of times wide receivers are put in an athlete category that they will play on special teams a lot too. But I think a few of these guys that we're discussing probably have the talent to play in some capacity at the wide receiver position right away.
How is Thomas doing?
Thomas Manville? He might be in the chat right now or watching somewhere. I don't know. I haven't checked in with him today, but I saw him last Wednesday. So we'll see if he pops in and give us his 2 cents. I'm sure you're wanting to hear his take on that.
I think they said Jarquez Hunter is playing.
Oh, they said Jarquez is going to play. I haven't heard that confirmed anywhere, but I haven't heard it confirmed that he's not going to be there.
Posted it saying he won't miss no games either.
I hope so. But obviously we won't know anything until he actually walks out there and suits up. All right, give me one the next commitment. Who is it going to be?
KJ Bolden.
KJ Bolden. I love it. We're going to book it right here. That's a great prediction to end on, sir. Thanks for calling.
I'm going to the fan day too.
I figured you were. I saw your post on our social media post, so I will be looking for you there, sir. Thanks for calling in tonight, Kevin.
Hey, will you be at the game September 2nd?
I will. I'll be at every game this season.
I might see you there.
We will make it happen, buddy. All right, War Eagle Kevin.
Bye.
All right, we're going to keep him coming. We got him lined up here. I hope he was ready. Mr. Gray Oldenburg, what's going on, sir?
I am. Nothing much, man. I'm excited.
I bet you are.
Over the move.
I'm just trying to keep us cranking here at this point because we got people calling in, wanting to talk. We haven't even got to the chat yet. So what's up, man? Haven't seen you in a minute.
Yeah. I really enjoy, I don't normally get to be on here live and stuff like that anymore, but I really enjoy watching them after and going through the comments and watching you interact with them. This is an awesome show, and today cannot be a better day to have a show like this.
I figured I put a little tweet out and said, should we do one of these things? And I figured I was not going to get a no, but I was curious how interested people might be tonight. Clearly they are.
For sure.
So this is why we're here. So lay it out for me. What you think?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. This was by far the most important Big Cat weekend coming into it. The most important Big Cat weekend we've had since it started in 2009. And then it delivered. And Perry said that he knew that he was going to flip since his official visit back about a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
And he does it. And we get the Malcolm Simmons from Benjamin Russell. Just like you said earlier in the show, he is not somebody that needs to be thrown into the back here because we did flip Perry Thompson. As big as Perry Thompson is, getting the 4-star athlete Malcolm Simmons, who will probably end up playing wide receiver at Auburn, is huge. And then to get that lead on Bolden the week before he commits, and he said in his interview when he was leaving Big Cat Weekend today, he was like, "Look, Hugh almost had me commit in his office today, a week before my commitment date." And I was like, "Man, we knew Hugh could recruit." He recruited these 5-star athletes to play at Ole Miss, You just don't see that a lot. If he can recruit at Ole Miss, I know he can recruit at Auburn. And we hired him. I was like, okay. Okay. I mean, it's
Right.
like,
Sure.
you know, man, he hasn't coached a game yet, and he has got me over the moon excited about Auburn football again.
Well, and I think there's two ways you look at this, right? We know that Hugh has a history of recruiting really well wherever he goes, even at Liberty. You know, for the type of player, the caliber of player that Liberty traditionally gets, he brought him in and he developed.
He exceeded it. Yeah.
Right. When you combine that, I think that's the first part that everybody talks about. But what's often left in this is that Auburn can attract in players on its own just because we sell Auburn. Yeah. And what happens when you combine those two things together? You're seeing it right now. Hugh Freeze has not stepped on the field as the head coach other than a rainy A-Day. Hugh Freeze has not coached down. He has not, made one mistake out in the field yet, made one great moment out on the field in terms of what will be recorded in a season stat book. And yet he's pulling this off. That is just as much to do with him and what he can, and what I think he recognizes too. I think he said as much, what he's able to pull off with the tools that Auburn gives him. And I think that can't be understated as well. So what we have here is just an incredible, it's a weapon of mass destruction, basically.
I know. And we've got the back-to-back defending national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs, and then the ugly state, the ugly school across the state, terrified. Hugh hasn't coached a down, just like you said. He hasn't coached a down, and he has these guys terrified of him because of what he's done the past week, much less what he did in the transfer portal and taking the 2023 class to what he did. Well, what he's done the past week has them horrified, and it should. There's every reason to make them terrified.
Yeah. And look, we're not sitting here saying that if you're reasonable, that we are the world beaters in recruiting yet. But if we're doing this early without having any proof of concept about the Hugh Freeze Auburn experiment on the field, what happens if he starts winning? I mean, we still have Auburn that sells itself. I mean, what else do you want? This is why you're seeing the reaction from the keyboard warriors of Alabama. We all have keyboard warriors, but the keyboard warriors of Alabama on their message boards and social media, and not being able to take their L and go home. A lot of people, they swore up and down he wasn't going to flip today. And look, he might flip back for all we know. We've seen it happen before. I've already said that at the start of the show. But right now he's an Auburn Tiger, and he seems pretty happy to be here. So.
Yeah, it seems like he's 100%. And I don't, Jeffrey Lee asked him in his interview, he was like, so we've seen this happen before where Alabama commits flip to Auburn and then don't end up at Auburn. And whether they end up somewhere else or they end up back at Alabama. What's a good percentage of you that are you tied with Auburn right now? He said 100%.
Yeah.
He said, I'm done.
Yeah.
So, and that's obviously we can't, take that 100% because of the coach that's across the state. But I mean, it sounds like he's locked in, and you add Malcolm Simmons. And then on the 5th, if you add the number one safety in the country out of the state of Georgia, the guy that Georgia has been wanting. My dad and I were talking earlier, Georgia seemed like they were okay when Riddick decommitted because they have Justin Williams, who's the number one linebacker in the country.
Sure.
Oh, you take KJ Bolden away from them, they're going to freak.
Yeah. See, they can have a little bit of a buffer because we're not in the same state with them, but it's still that close rivalry. So we take one swipe at them and they're like, it hurt, but fine. But if we start doing this, twice, then it's kind of like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Quick subject change real quick, because I got to shout this out. Somebody is watching from Japan. Wow. Whenever we get someone international, and we've gotten, I think, New Zealand before, South Africa, think Ukraine before all this happened. It's anytime I see someone there, I got to give them a shout out no matter what we're talking about. So, I would make sense that they're on the live stream today for everything that's going on. Sure. Okay. So let's I want to ask anybody who calls in tonight, just to kind of round out our time with them. Obviously, you've already talked about it. KJ Bolden seems like the next logical choice, given how the things feel right now. Not saying it's a guarantee. Who is, in your mind, someone that we should be paying attention to who had a seed planted today at Big Cat Weekend that may be committing later down the line, but they'll kind of harken back to, this is when I knew I just needed some more time to kind of settle into it? Is there a player?
Yeah. I think the California offensive tackle, DeAndre Barber, is somebody who, because we did not expect him to be there.
Yeah.
There were a few Georgia wide receiver commits.
Those were big surprises today.
There were a few really big surprises, but I'm going to go with DeAndre Barber. He's a 330-pound offensive tackle from California. Auburn is not a team that really lands people from the state of California anytime recently.
Right.
I don't even remember the last commit we got from California.
I feel like we almost, I'm blanking on his name right now. We didn't get him, but we came like this close. I think it was a defensive end, but anyway, continue.
I think it's him. Outside of a guy like KJ Bolden, I think Bolden is the next guy to commit. And man, you get him, you get Barber, you add a few, Jalen Hayward, or I believe that's his name,
Yep.
Jalen Hayward.
Yep.
He was a 4-star safety commit for Georgia. He was expected to be there. I don't think he could have made. I heard that he was unable to make it due to other reasons. He was not able to go anywhere this weekend. So he's a guy I would keep an eye on, especially if KJ Bolden does end up going to Georgia. And I do believe it's an Auburn-Georgia fight now. I think 2 weeks ago it was Georgia and Ohio State. And now I think it's Auburn and Georgia. So I would keep an eye on those few guys. But I mean, the class that Hugh's putting together, it's going to be a top 10, top 8 class in the country.
Yeah, I don't think anybody questioned this was going to be, because, Auburn by itself can get into the top 15. When I say by itself, I mean, like, we have to try, but just what we can sell and what we can offer. But when you combine that with Hugh Freeze kind of setting up how we started our conversation, you kind of almost ensure yourself a top 10. And I don't want us to get into hyperbole and act like we're, a shoe in for a top 5 or something like that. But, if the dominoes are starting to fall now, that's only going to help with some of these other people that aren't maybe sold yet, even considering Auburn. And you never know what might happen. If Hugh really gets this offensive line recruiting going, like a lot of fans hope they would, and get some of these, the guy from California is a perfect example. Is a great way to start it off. You don't know how that's going to elevate this class even more. Yeah. And I wonder if there's going to be a surprise or two down the line. Another flip, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
so.
Flip doesn't just have to happen around Christmas July. Christmas and July. But So your final guess is the guy from California.
I think so. I think it's DeAndre Barber. Yes.
All right. Well, we'll hold you to it. And when it happens, you'll have to come back and say,
absolutely. Told you so. Yeah.
Told you so. Thanks for calling in, Gray.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for having me.
Of course. Bye. All right. You guys can call in if you'd like. Please do. Just like all of our last 3 callers did. Good calls and questions and comments so far. Phone lines are open for you. Please do take advantage. It is at the top of the YouTube link. So if you're watching on Facebook or somewhere else, you can't access it there, but all you have to do is click it. It'll take you to a green room where you can choose to be on camera or just have your voice heard. Several people take advantage of that because I know it's intimidating, but would love to hear some more conversation tonight. So while we wait to see if we get another caller, I'll try to keep up to date with some of the commentary, but also try to kind of, go back and look at some of these things too. Michael Floyd, good to see you tonight, sir, hanging out with us. Awesome day to be an Auburn Tiger. Welcome to the future of Auburn football. You said you were going to have a few questions, so let's go ahead and tackle one of those now. How do you think people who were against the Freeze hire feel now about him and the program? He has excelled tremendously off the field and in recruiting. That is a very loaded question, Michael. And it's not that I'm surprised that you would ask it, because you're just such a nice guy that you want to stir this up a little bit. When I say stir it up, I don't mean you're trying to cause controversy, but it's a real question. The Hugh Freeze hire caused a lot of trepidation amongst the Auburn family for a variety of reasons. And I think some of the concern was very valid some of the reaction, some of the commentary, and even privately, I can tell you from conversation myself, not warranted and not very honest about even their perspective on it. I don't know. It's just been very interesting to see that happen. I think there is a lot of people having to kind of swallow their pride because they are seeing the success on the field. But most of people's concern was not about on the field recruiting, all that stuff. It was about the stuff from his past. And the only thing that he can do is prove to you that he can he asked for us or the opportunity for him to prove himself. And all he can do is go out and handle himself day by day and continue to build that trust. So for those, to answer your question, for those people that maybe were hesitant, the majority of those were for off the field reasons. He's still got work to do probably for them. And I understand that. I don't understand some of the, especially public response, especially those behind anonymous names and social media handles and stuff like that. But I digress. But I hope that this at least shows anybody that had concerns about on the field stuff, recruiting. On the field stuff, it's still to come. But the recruiting, I don't know what more you could ask for. Bubba Watkins says that Walker White is getting his offense strong around him. Yes. So we've seen a series of commits that have been defensive for the last month and three months. I think it was not 8 in a row until the 2 wide receiver commits today that were defensive. Now you're finally seeing some of those offensive guys. And I had kind of held out hope that maybe we were going to get, maybe a running back I don't know that we necessarily have to have one in this class, an extra one, because Jamarian Burnett is Jamarian Burnett, So maybe we'll get another one, but it was nice to see offense get a little bit of help too as well. Good crowd tonight, folks. Thank y'all so much for being here. Whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, smash the like button if you can. We'll talk about this at the end of the show, but just since we got a good crowd here now, I'd love to see you guys back. Every Sunday night, we do a live show for the Auburn Experience podcast, which is our flagship show. It's an hour broadcast, but we record for about 30 minutes on different topics. Big Cat Weekend will be discussed tomorrow night, but Sunday nights at 9 Eastern time. During the recording, we don't interact with you guys a lot, but before and after, we'll do a little bit like this, just hang out with you guys a little bit. And of course, Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. Noah, thank you so much for being willing to be on the live stream. It's always easier when I have people to talk to instead of at the screen. I enjoy doing this part of it, but this is what this is about. It's about being part of the Auburn family and interacting together. Curry told me to get to the point, just joined. Well, that was a long time ago, so I don't know what point you wanted me to get to. Slow down, Hoss. Love you, Curry, but that was interesting. Let's see here. Steve says if he loses a game he is not supposed to, then we will see them come out of the woodwork. Sure. I mean, obviously, look, we can go back and forth about all those different things. Whether or not people are going to admit they were wrong and things like that. It's really not here or there at this point in the discussion for tonight, but it is what it is. It was a good question though by Michael. I just don't think this is going to help those type of things. Program defining commits with Reddick and Thompson. So how does this affect the SEC's thoughts about Freeze at Auburn? Freeze at Auburn. How does this affect the SEC's thoughts? It definitely puts Alabama and Georgia on notice. That's my opinion. You guys, if you have any opinions, share them too. It definitely kind of also sends the message to those programs that maybe felt they were kind of leveling off with Auburn, maybe getting to the same level of them because they were falling, kind of showing, nah, you're still not on our playing field in terms of what we have potential wise. It probably is a very much a hard pill to swallow for Ole Miss fans and the dynamic that's been kind of happening there over time. But yeah, that's, it is what it is. Let's see here. Coach Freeze is our hero, getting back Auburn back to where we belong. Great perspective. It's recruiting wise. It seems like that's happening. Lots still to happen out on the field. What's going on, Rob? Good to see you. A lot of other people checking in. Corey asks, what offensive player would be icing on the cake to get? What offensive player would be icing on the cake to get? You know, there was some conversation around Duke Watson, the running back. And I don't have any information to say that that's going to happen or anything like that. I think if, you know, the easy answer to this is, and I think Gray and misspoke, I think it's DeAndre Carter, not Barber. We already have a Barber. I could be wrong on that, but the offensive lineman from California would be a offensive player that would be the icing on the cake. If Hugh Freeze gets out of this Big Cat weekend and has 2 wide receivers, including a flip, if he gets KJ Bolden later this week, and then somehow pulls DeAndre Carter, the offensive lineman. Wow. You know, there's a lot of notions of this is the best Big Cat weekend ever. And I don't know if you can like say that definitively yet, but if he gets those other 2 on top of it, you might have a case there. In terms of hype, in terms of excitement, sure, this is the most exciting and most interesting one that we've had in quite some time. Huge day for the coaching staff. It is a great day to be here for Auburn. Let's see here. Great point to bring up, Michael. Our wide receiver coach is the youngest coach on staff, and he poached away Alabama's highest rated recruit today. That speaks volumes of him, especially since he is still relatively young. That is Marcus Davis, former wide receiver for Auburn himself. Had some pretty good moments at Auburn. He was very, if I remember correctly, not just this game, but I remember this one, the Texas A&M game in 2013. He was very instrumental in keeping drives going at times. And he seemed like to be that kind of clutch guy at times for Auburn. You know, when Sammy was getting all the attention, he'd knock down a pass and not knock down a pass. He'd grab a pass and keep the ball moving forward. But what he is proving to be is one of the most bright and most prolific and influential recruiters, especially of wide receivers, in the game right now. Now, how about 4 5-star offensive linemen? What am I going to tell you, Rob? Doesn't matter what stars they come in with. What matters what they leave with. But yes, we do need some offensive linemen. It remains to be seen how many we actually do need. I haven't looked at the roster breakdown quite thoroughly yet. I look at it basically at least once a week just because of the nature of what I do, but it's not fresh in my mind at this point. I think we're going to definitely lose about 3 of the guys that just transferred in after this year. But we've got some young guys that can come up and fill those spaces. So it remains to be seen how many that we'll bring in. And I see that a lot of you are concerned about that. Do we have a list of who players? I meant to have this ready. Bear with me a second. I will try to cover the dead space here and just talk while I pull up maybe a note on that I had written down a little bit later, or earlier, I should say, if I can find it and talk at the same time. I know this is terrible. There we go. All right. So what I do know is this, from what I can tell. Good to see you, Whit. Thanks for being here. All of the commits were here today. I think that was confirmed. So now Auburn has 14 commits, 2 brand new ones, so 12 starting off the day. We're all here today. I know Walker was there. Jamarian was there. I think Bryce Kane was there. I'm trying to remember everybody. Was the tight end? Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Let me look here on my list. Just go to your list, Kyle. All right. So pretty sure Amon was there. Jaden Lewis. I don't remember seeing Kinsley Faustin talked about. D'Angelo Barber, I believe, was there. I think Malik was there too. Malik Blockton. Martavius Collins. The only ones I didn't really hear talked about were Martavius and Kinsley. That could have been, and then you had Jalen Crawford, Joseph Phillips. I know they were there. So I think mostly everybody who was committed was there. Who was planned to be there? DeMarcus Reddick, obviously forgot about that one. KJ Bolden, Zaquan Patterson, Jalen Hayward, Jalewis Solomon. And then there were some surprises from Georgia today that were commits of theirs. So there's a lot going on today to keep track of. This is why I'm tired. Let's see. Somehow I don't see KJ going to FSU. Now, listen, we feel good about KJ right now. We should, but based on the interactions today, based on what we were seeing, what we were hearing, you should feel good about it. But you should also know that Florida State's having a pretty decent, at least they got a recent commitment that was pretty big, defensive back, which would maybe replace KJ if he's not going to go to them. I don't know. Look, I'm not saying he's a shoe-in for Auburn, but he seemed pretty comfortable there today from everything that we could tell. Is DeAndre Carter staying tonight for tomorrow, Big Cat? So let me just clarify this. Unless I don't know this correctly, Big Cat ended today. Like the event ended today. But, it's a weekend, right? So a lot of these guys arrived last night and got to hang out a little bit with players and coaches. I'm sure. I don't know how. I'm not there, so I don't know how it all works. But I know that some of them arrived last night. I'm sure some of them arrived late today. I know that. We'll probably stay and meet with the coaches tomorrow, and weren't able to take in all the fun festivities today. But Big Cat, the main event happened today. You can still call it the weekend because they'll stay through and talk to each other. So I don't know if he's staying. To be honest with you, after we got done with our video for Perry Thompson, I checked out for a little bit because I had to. But I wanted to come back and talk to y'all. So as a reminder, if you want to call in, phone line is open for you. Please take advantage of that if you'd like to. We already had 3 great callers at the start of the show. You can call in and speak your mind, share your thoughts, on camera or off camera. Let's see here. How long will it take for our flips to be moved back to 4 stars? If it hasn't already happened, it's probably in the works right now. This is why I tell you folks, do not worry about the stars. I know that's like me that's falling on deaf ears for a lot of you, but this is why you can't worry about the stars. It's nice. It's fun to talk about at the time, to rub. We stole your 5-star, but really we're looking for who fits our needs and the best quality player that fits our needs, because like that, their rating can change. Just know that we're finding the best that we can, no matter the stars. But it is funny to watch that correlate there. It was great to see a lot of our current players present today at the festivities. It shows they are bought in. I'm eager to see how that translates on the field. Success story. That traditionally happens, Michael. Now, to what extent, I can't speak. I've never been a player on the team. I don't get to spend as much time as, really hardly any time compared to beat writers and stuff like that. But I know that type of stuff has happened before, but it seemed like there was a different level of it today. And that we're also in a different era of society and a different era of recruiting, what can and can't be done with NIL and how creative you have to be to stand out. This is a pretty big deal, folks. I mean, it went off about as well as you could have hoped. You wish you could show me the tweet. I have, where KJ said he was coming to Auburn. I've heard like 5 different people say they've got that tweet. I'm not saying it's not true, but until that commitment comes through, and truly until they sign on that dotted line at early signing period in December or February for signing day, I just never really feel comfortable about it. Yeah, if there was like a disappointment the week leading up to this, because the hype started right this Wednesday with Reddick flipping from Georgia and jilting Alabama in the process. It's been a rough, if you know an Alabama fan, just go give them a hug. It's been a rough week for them. That one with him not being able to make the trip over to Auburn, I think it was like Thursday to stay over for Friday or something like that. Didn't happen. That was disappointing. And see, not to pick on what Rob's saying here, but going back to my comment about stars not really mattering. On one side, he's a 4-star. The other, he's a 5. So there's no true consistency, but he definitely seems like a guy we really need. KJ said he almost pulled the trigger on the commitment today when Freeze took him in to the locker room for a talk. Well, that sounds weird, but look, Hugh Freeze is a great salesman. He really is. You can tell that just by how he carries himself at press conferences and stuff like that. He seems like very laid back and gets along with all his players, as far as I can tell. You saw how they went about the commitment and flip today of Perry Thompson, where he's in there hanging out. They all picked him up and threw him in. And that's the stuff that you want to see, right? You want these relationships built now, because he's got to be hard on them when they get here, like a traditional football coach would, and the other coaches as well. So love to see that. And hopefully he can work his magic behind the scenes. Trevon Reed said we will have a top 10 class at worst, thinking about around 5, maybe. Listen, if Trevon Reed says it, it's true. That's all I'm going to say. There's probably one person in this world as related to Auburn conversation that I will not argue with. There's another person, but I'm not going to out them as a source of mine. But Trevon Reed, if he says it, just take it for what it is. Let's see here. Trying to see. I'm getting a little bit behind in chat here. The state of Alabama has 4 5-stars in this year's class, and 2 of them are committed to Auburn. Yeah, I saw that, and that's just on one site, right? Because it varies on different sites. It seems like that's a little low. Traditionally, there's more than that, isn't there? I could be wrong, but I feel like there's traditionally more 5-stars in Alabama than just that. But not this year. Wonder if they'll start selling Freeze pops at the stadium now. That's hilarious. Just for thoughts, what do you think of Reddick playing at safety his first year until he picks up the SEC speed at linebacker? Is that like something that he's considering? Well, one of the things that was really discussed, and we pointed out in our video about him too, is his athleticism. So I would say it's not the most odd thing that I've ever heard. I don't know that, because the goal is when they get here is to start building their strength, their stamina, their bodies essentially to the position they're going to be playing. And so I would hate for him to have to do the type of preparation that it takes to be a safety, which I'm sure is not drastically different than a linebacker, but it's going to be a little bit different in a sense. Still, I would say, just for the sake of playing, when you've got a pretty stout defensive back group already here and coming now with all of these new commitments, I'd say no. It's not a bad thought, but yeah. Perry said he's locked and will begin classes for spring practice. Well, that's still a long time away. We'll see what happens. Listen, I've told this story. I know some of you may be new. I've told this story. I'm not going to actually tell you the full story because it's neither here nor there. But I've been burned way too many times and be way too invested in recruiting to take something at face value. There's very few times that I say it's a sure thing. We're good. There's not going to be any more flipping. I'm not trying to rain on our parade today. It's me protecting myself from how I've been burned. There you go. Hope they stay committed and are signed. All right. Keep your comments and questions going. If you would like to call in, we're at about 45 minutes. We'll keep going. See if we can get to an hour here. If you guys are still interested in talking about some different commentary on this, we have kind of maybe recap a little bit here. Obviously, the big story of the day is the flip of Perry Thompson from Alabama. What should not be lost in that is Malcolm Simmons and his big part in that. Let me go ahead and lay this out for everybody now. We have already built a great defensive back group, which may get even better, but you've now put together a great wide receiver group. Bryce Cain, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons together are going to be a nice complementary. And let me just take the two today that I think are going to be very complementary to each other. If you look at maybe how their body types are different, Perry is 6'3", 206. So a big target, bigger bodied target. Whereas Simmons seems kind of like your more versatile speed wide receiver. He's 6 foot, I think. So not short by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely not 6'3". A smaller target comparatively. And I forget Bryce's numbers, but I think they're similar to Simmons. So just in this group alone right now, you've got a big target and two very quick targets, maybe more quote unquote athletic or speed targets. That's a really big deal. Don't lose sight just of the celebration of Perry Thompson, but what they're putting together is really nice. And keep in mind that you've already got your running back here, Jamarian Burnett, a tight end. We start getting some offensive linemen, folks, and maybe a few extra just athletes to see where we can fit them in at. It's going to look real good. Let's see here. James says T. Reed is a person that when he says something, you can bank on it. He also mentioned in another interview with Dukes that he thought he could compete this year. He said is a person says he says you can bank on it. He also mentioned another. Which recruiter are you talking about? You talking about Perry? Is that who you're talking about? Because you started talking about T. Reed. Give me a little context there. Yes, I referenced this a little bit earlier, and when I was talking about why we should at this moment feel good about KJ Bolden. If you paid attention to the live stream that was done when Perry committed, there were several going. I watched Walker White's. You could see, maybe it was a different live stream, but you could at least see the comment that said, "Wait for me, I'm coming," meaning I guess he wasn't there at the pool party at that exact moment. I think there's some stuff being read into that he wanted to commit that day too. Sure, he might have, but I don't know. I think maybe we're just kind of building into the hype just a little bit. OG asked, is Bolden coming? We don't know yet, but we'll find out August 5th. I think the room is stacked this year, and we got something to prove. The media doesn't believe in us. Which media are you talking about? Because a lot of the media seem very impressed so far with what Auburn's done, recruiting wise. But you can understand why there is some caution this year for on the field. What I don't want, and I feel like I'm raining on a parade a lot here, but I try to give you guys both sides of a perspective, so we're not just sitting here being a echo chamber of we're the best ever. The recruiting hype that you have right now really doesn't translate it until next season, because they're not going to be out on the field. But what it can do is build confidence, resiliency, that we're heading in the right direction. You don't know how that can affect the team now. So we don't really know what the team will look like this year yet. We're going to be talking a lot about that in coming weeks with fall practice starting this week, I believe, on Wednesday. But yeah, media definitely looks down on us for a little bit this year, but I can understand why. Let's see. I'm seeing some people acting like somebody KJ committed. Let's find out. I swear. I absolutely swear. Okay, so we have got Hugh Freeze posting 23 minutes ago the picture of a fish. I know again this is terrible, a terrible show here, but I'm trying to give you guys information on the fly. There is hints coming that there's another commitment. It would make sense for that to be KJ Bolden. I'm just reading some things really quickly here. No one is reporting it yet, so it seems that we're just speculating at this point. But as I told you all at the start of the show, crazy stuff happens when we go live. So this is why you should always be here. No matter the sport we're talking about, the instance that we're talking about, stuff just seems to happen. All right. Steve says, I think with all our big commits, if we could possibly work on other players we have recruited, but made other choices already. Well, there's still plenty of players that we've been focusing on that haven't committed yet. I would really work on the ones, and look, coach has got his own system and way of deciding who he wants to recruit and how he wants to do it. But I don't think the work is done yet on a lot of the people that they do want that they've already been talking to. It is nice if you start filling some of these spots up. You can go out there and fish for the really big fish that maybe have already been picked up. See if maybe they want to jump back into the pond to see how things are going. I'm using a lot of fishing analogy right now because of the tweet put out by Coach Hugh Freeze a little while ago. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing anything about KJ Bolden, so I think you guys are getting a little bit misconstrued information. Simply, a lot of people talking about that he will be likely to commit to Auburn, but we will find out. Scott says, I'm a Debbie Downer. Me? Scott, if you've been here long enough to know me, I get called Pollyanna all the time. All the time. Check the X. I did check the X, and the X is not giving us much. Dale, thank you. It just came through. Thank you so much, sir, for the super chat. That is much appreciated. Gives me a great opportunity to plug. If you guys ever want to help support what we do here, we are right now primarily fan supported. That we do have a few partnerships and things like that we work with, but all that you can get involved with, joining the Booster Club, being a channel member, doing super chats like he just did, or down there. So we appreciate Dale thank you so much for putting that into the little piggy bank, help keep the lights on here at E2C Network. Thank you so much for that. All right, we are at 52 minutes. Again, we can keep going. I would like to hear from maybe somebody else who hasn't called tonight. If you'd like to, that link is up at the top of the chat on YouTube. I'll leave it open for just a few more minutes and would love to talk to anybody else. But what is something around Big Cat that we haven't talked about yet? We've talked about Perry Thompson. We've talked about Malcolm Simmons. We've talked about KJ Bolden, what might be happening there, DeAndre Carter. We've talked about the huge success that this was built up to be and has seemed to live up to the expectations. Can he replicate it next year? What I do like, and this is maybe something, an angle we haven't taken yet, is you had 2025 guys here too, experiencing what's been going on, building that hype up for next year. Our only commit, Malik Autry, defensive end from Opelika, was here. And so he's going to be probably that rock that you need to start off that class. What might come out of this Big Cat for 2025? We don't know. Any thoughts on that? Dangerous Dylan, I assume you're talking about Perry. We've talked about that a little bit. Obviously, there's a history of us being played. Maybe. It's always a risk, but we can only operate off of what we know right now. The great thing is the reason you see not just Auburn, but a lot of these other programs doing these big events right before the school year is because they know these kids are about to be extremely busy with high school ball. And then by the time they're done with that, obviously the programs themselves are going to be pretty busy, but then that leads straight into the early signing period. So hopefully the Sticks, they'll be too busy to be courted by anybody else or flip back. You don't think he's playing us? That's what we've said before. I mean, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I've been burned so many times. All right, let's see. What are you guys talking about? Yeah, that was the big surprise today, right? I think really the biggest surprise were some of the Georgia commits that this a linebacker, a defensive back, right? Both positions where it seems like we've got, I don't want to say enough, but a lot of what we need. But you definitely don't say no if they want to come be a part of the magic that's happening here, right? It would only increase the trepidation of the Dogs and the Tide if we steal some more recruits from them. I watched it live. The great thing about being just plugged in here into this room all day is, anytime someone said this person's going live, I'd check in just to kind of see if I could glean any information. And so that, I mean, the Malcolm Simmons commitment, he had I don't want to say accidentally, but basically revealed it before he revealed it publicly, like by a few minutes. So I was ready to go for that. I watched him get thrown into the pool live. That was really cool. And then the analogy of him flipping into the pool, that being Perry Thompson and flipping, that was good stuff there. Plainsman Murph just getting in. What a day for the Auburn Tigers. It's been a long time since this much excitement for the Auburn recruiting. Let's go build an All-American O-line in the 25 and 26 classes. And I think that's a good perspective to have, because I think a lot of people are still hinging their happiness on this class on the success of the offensive line. And when I say success, I don't mean like there's a certain thing we have to have. I'm sure the coaches have that in their mind, but we don't necessarily have to have X numbers that us fans say of offensive linemen for this to be a success. You've kind of patchworked that together. Right now is about focusing on building that foundation that can be built up, and you don't have to patchwork with transfers. And that still has to take place in 25 and 26 too. So if you're not pleased with offensive line recruiting right now, I understand, but understand also that there's probably a plan we don't know about. If he's planning to enroll in the spring, that makes me feel a lot better. Still won't count it out. How do I feel about DeAndre Carter? It's 50-50. It's such a long way to travel. Like, you got to really love being in a place so far away from home, which I think he's considering Michigan too. So I love Auburn. You guys know that have been here for a while and know that how much I preach about it. But I could also understand someone from California being like, this is a really cool place, but I don't want to be, if I'm going to go far, I want to go somewhere else. Like, I understand that. I don't agree with it. So I'd say it's 50-50 right now. I think we're good on quarterback. I know he's probably a great quarterback, but if Walker White will work this hard for us on recruiting, what do you think his work ethic is going to be when he gets out on there to the practice field? We're good. Now, if he wants to come and just come in and compete without us having to really do much work, sure, I'm not going to say no to somebody. But Walker White, you are the GOAT, sir. Let's see. Do you think any O-line, D-line guys will commit after certain games? Oh, sure. I mean, think about it this way. A lot of them have official visits they'll take this fall. And a lot of times you'll see that like the Sunday after. So, yeah, think about some of the big games that are coming up. The Iron Bowl. How you think that Perry Thompson visit's going to go on the Iron Bowl? The Georgia game, probably Ole Miss will be a big recruiting weekend too in October. Yeah, definitely. Wanting to flip that 2025 quarterback from Georgia. Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. But all right. We're going to keep most of the, we're almost done here actually, but last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals about Big Cat Weekend, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, KJ Bolden, DeAndre Carter, our current class, anything that's revolved around that, put it right now in the chat. Let's hit it to wind out our show. Bear with me for just a second and let me give you the spiel that I do at the end of every single show. What's coming up next? The Auburn Experience podcast. We broadcast this every single Sunday at 9 Eastern time, a live stream where you can watch the show be recorded live and interact with us before and after the show, just like you're doing right now. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about in those sessions of that broadcast. Don't miss it tomorrow, 9 Eastern time. If you're not a subscriber, please do. We're almost at 4,000. We're having a giveaway go on. And once we reach that, we will do that giveaway that's been going on for quite some time. You can be a Booster Club member or a channel member first. If you hit that join button here, if you want to get the next step, the Booster Club's available over at patreon.com/E2C Network. There's other ways that you can support us here if you'd like to by shopping at Alumni Hall in that link. I believe it's in there. If not, you can find it every other place we share. But other than that, we just appreciate you being here, spending time with us, because you've got a lot of choices out there in Auburn content and a lot of great content out there for you to consume. And we just are so appreciative that you'd spend even a small amount of time with us and hear our opinions about things as we try to let you share yours too. All right. Let's hit some last minute comments here. Yeah, I see you said you want Clint back on here. He's not gone. He'll be back soon enough. He knows, Clint Richardson knows he has an open invitation to be here whenever he wants to talk about something. He could call in tonight if he wants. Yep. Kate, so it's down to FSU and Auburn, it seems like. What are the chances? Seems, I would say today it was probably 50-50. It seems like it shifted 60-40 now. Think there's been a switch of picks and stuff on some sites. I don't know. Maybe so. Let's see here. I did see a tweet to where they said KJ Bolden said Hugh Freeze would be the last one he talks to before his decision. Yeah, I read that very quickly here live while we were doing that, and I took it to mean in my quick read that he's already talked to him, but maybe that meant he's going to talk to him one more time. Here, I'll take this real quick. I just talked to Ben recently. He has got some busy stuff at work this week. I don't think we're going to have Ben this year. And I told him that a lot of y'all had asked about him. He has an open invitation to whenever he gets free, but I think he's just going to be too busy. Austin is here every Sunday night, and Austin is a brand new father of twins. So I don't know that we'll see him a whole lot outside of Sunday nights, but you never know. So we're going to get some more voices in for you guys, but unfortunately, I don't think Ben will be here this year. Ooh, good question. Comment. Top recruiter right now, Caddy, Davis, Josh, or Zach. So Cadillac Williams, Marcus Davis, Josh Aldridge, or Zach Etheridge. Well, I mean, the easy answer is, can I cheat? Trevon Reed. Zach has the biggest resume, very close with Caddy. Josh has very much impressed coming over from Liberty. And Marcus Davis, have yourself a day, sir. Have yourself a day. That's a hard question, but I'm going to cheat and say Trevon Reed because we ain't done yet. All right, folks. Good stream. Thank y'all for being here, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Smash that like button on the way out if you haven't, and if you think we've earned it. Would love to have you guys here around, and make sure you're subscribed too if you're not on Facebook, or it's really on YouTube, but on Facebook as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. Had a fun time talking with you all, enjoying the spoils. That was Big Cat Weekend, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that a lot more very, very soon. So hope to see you Sunday, tomorrow night, 9 Eastern time. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.